In this video, we explain how DNS works in AWS Route 53 in the simplest way possible. So let's get started.
Okay, let's start. So next we're going to cover Route 53, right? So Route 53 is basically the DNS server of AWS, right? We can also say this is highly available, right? Uh, fully managed, fully managed, authoritative DNS. I think सही नहीं लिखा है. Authoritative, fine. Authoritative DNS server of AWS, right? DNS we have seen earlier, right? DNS we basically map domain names, right? Like google.com to a particular IP address, right? Because we need IP addresses to communicate on the internet, right? And we have also seen how the DNS resolution happens, be it in a local network, right? We have the root servers, the TLD servers, and the authoritative name servers. So we've seen that, right? So this is authoritative DNS server, right? That means that the owners of this domain, right, we can update the records here, right? So it is also a domain registrar, right? This is also a domain registrar. So if you want to register a new domain, right, you can do it in Route 53 as well, right? This is the only AWS service, right? Only AWS service that provides 100% availability, right? And if you can say why 53, right? What is so special about 53? Why the service named Route 53, right? Because 53 is the traditional port of DNS. That is why it's called Route 53, right? So it is basically of two types. What we can have is we have something called hosted zones, right? Hosted zones are nothing but containers that hold all our DNS records that we will see, right? So basically, we will create a hosted zone for a particular, we create a hosted zone for a particular domain, right? Now it might be a domain that we own, or it might be a domain that we don't own. We'll see how that works. This hosted zone are basically of two types. First is the public hosted zones, right? So it contains DNS records that can be resolved over the internet, right? Second is again very simple, a private hosted zone. We will create these hosted zones and see how they work. A private hosted zone, it's like contains DNS records that can be resolved only within a VPC, right? So yeah, there are two types of hosted zones. A hosted zone is nothing but it is a container in which we can add multiple DNS records for a domain, right? First is the public hosted zone. So in this type, right, whatever DNS records that I add to this hosted zone, right, everyone will be able to resolve it on the internet, right? And a private hosted zone is basically I will create a private hosted zone and I will attach it to a VPC. And what that will do is only people within the the VPC that it is attached to, right? Only that VPC will be able to resolve DNS names from this hosted zone.
Yeah,
Go,
so
yeah.
you just one thing. So
Yeah.
it is external DNS record and internal DNS record, right?
Yeah, you can say, yeah, this public hosted zone is basically over the internet.
Yeah, the internet exposed, public exposed domain.
Yeah, you can say
And
that.
this is only internal,
This is
whatever
only
organization specific, right?
Yeah, internal DNS resolution, correct.
Yes.
Right. So obviously, we'll go to the Route 53 service. Let me close the other necessary tabs I have opened here. We'll go to Route 53. Right. So I think I'll have a public hosted zone already here. Again, Route 53 is a global service, right? Not not a region scoped one. I see there is an option called hosted zones there. We'll go here. Right. See, currently you see there is this InnoMpex AI domain that I'm managing here. That is a public domain, right? So we can play around with this as well. So this is a public hosted domain, right? So whatever entry I make here, right? Whatever entry I make here, I will create a record and say maybe I do DNS demo .impacts.ai, right? Maybe it resolves to 1.2.3.4. TTL, I'll just say to 60 seconds. It's a A-type record. A-type record, you guys know, right? So we'll see. We'll see 4 types of records. Basically, first is the A-type, right? It maps. I think we talked about this in the networking section as well. It maps the domain name to IPv4 address, right? And then 4 times A, it's basically we map a domain name to IPv6 address. CNAME is basically when we map a domain name to another domain name, right? And the TXT record is basically if we want to store some text data, right, in a DNS record. So whenever we query that DNS record, a text will be returned to us from the DNS server, right? So now just very simple. I'll just add a record, and I'll add the value to be 1.2.3.4. Create records, right? So this will take some time to propagate. This will take some time to propagate, right? Let it propagate. Right? This is an in sync now. Now, if I try to resolve that uh, record, right? DNS demo dot impacts dot AI. Right, you see, this is getting resolved to that IP that I added there. This is on my laptop, right? So this is getting resolved publicly over the internet, right?
So
And
as it
page,
was public, that's why we were able to get the IP address as well.
because I added that was a public hosted zone, and a public hosted zone is key. You'll be able to resolve IP addresses on the internet, all the users. Okay. So I pasted that in the chat as well. Then you guys will also be able to resolve it. I just added that in front of you, right? And you see, I'm able to resolve it, right? So
Okay.
this is what a public hosted zone is. You can register your domain here if you want registered domain, right? And you can basically create your own domain. I think for as low as 1,000 or 1,300 rupees.